Hello everybody, welcome back to Our Wisdom. As so far I have been your host Zero Yeti, and this is our 30th episode. So let's get right into it with the first animal of the week being the hippopotamus, also called the hippo, the common hippopotamus, or the river hippopotamus. It is a large, mostly herbivorous, semi-aquatic mammal and ungulate native to sub-Saharan Africa. It is one of only two extant species in the family Hippopotamidae, the other being the previously covered pygmy hippopotamus. Measuring upwards of 16 feet in length, 5 feet high at the shoulder, and weighing over 5,800 pounds, they are amongst the largest living land animals, being only smaller than elephants and some rhinoceri. Hippos have a barrel-shaped bodies with short legs and long muzzles. Their skeletal structures are graviportal and adapted to carrying their enormous weight, enabling them to sink and move along the bottom of rivers and lakes without issue. Despite sporting small legs relative to other megafauna, they are capable of galloping up to 19 miles an hour. They are a fairly vocal species which communicates through grunts and bellows and may occasionally practice echolocation. Despite being semi-aquatic and having webbed feet, adult hippos are not particularly good swimmers, nor can they float. They are rarely found in deep water, and when they are, the animal moves by porpoise-like leaps up from the bottom to the surface, as well as running along the bottom. The eyes, ears, and nostrils of hippos are placed high on the roof of their skulls. This allows the organs to be remained above the surface of the water while the rest of the body is submerged. Hippos mostly live in freshwater habitats such as inland lakes and rivers. However, they are known to frequent deltas, estuaries, and mangrove swamps, and have even been found out at sea. They are primarily grazers, emerging at night to feed upon fruits, roots, and short grasses, which make up the bulk of their diet, although they are also known to occasionally consume carrion. Despite their enormous size, common hippopotamus are occasionally preyed upon by prides of lions, packs of hyenas, and exceptionally large Nile crocodiles. Hippos are territorial only in water, where a dominant male presides over a small stretch of river, on average around 250 meters in length, and they typically form a pod containing around 10 to 20 females. However, the largest pods can contain over 100 hippos, and other males are allowed to join the pod so long as they behave submissively towards the dominant male. After an 8-month pregnancy, mother hippos typically give birth to a single calf, although twins are occasionally known to occur. And the young will stay with their mothers until they reach maturity around 7 years of age. A common hippopotamus may live up to 65 years under ideal conditions. Next up is the barn owl, which is the most widely distributed species of owl on Earth, being found essentially everywhere except for polar and desert regions, as well as a few isolated islands. Phylogenetic evidence shows there are at least 3 major lineages of barn owl, one in Europe, Western Asia, and Africa, one in Southeastern Asia and Australia, and the third being in the Americas, as well as there being some highly diverged taxa on various islands. In general, it is a medium-sized, pale-colored owl with long wings and a short, squarish tail, with typical specimens measuring around 13 to 15 inches in overall length and sporting a wingspan around 2.5 to 3 feet. The bird's head and upper body typically vary between rich or pale brown and some shade of gray. Black and white speckles ordain the body except on the main wing and tail feathers, which are light brown with a darker band. The heart-shaped face is usually bright white or some light brown in coloration. The barn owl is nocturnal over most of its range, but in Great Britain and some Pacific islands, it also hunts during the day. Barn owls specialize in hunting animals on the ground, such as small mammals, small birds, reptiles, amphibians, and insects, which they locate using their acute hearing. Barn owls themselves are eaten by arboreal carnivorous mammals such as raccoons, leopards, and opossums, and especially by large raptors, including eagles, goshawks, buzzards, and other owls. Barn owls usually mate for life unless one of the pair is killed, whereupon a new pair bond may be formed with a different owl. Breeding takes place at various times of the year, typically coinciding with resource availability, according to the locality, with a clutch of around 4 eggs being laid in a nest in a hollow of a tree, old building, or fissure off a cliff. Female does all the incubation, and both she and the young chicks are relying on the male for food. The young will stay with their parents until around 13 weeks of age, and barn owls reach sexual maturity around 10 to 12 months of age, and they may live upwards of 20 years under ideal conditions. Next up is the numbat, also known as the numbat, or the walpurti. Is a diurnal marsupial which was once widespread across most of Australia, but is now restricted to several small colonies in Western Australia, South Australia, and New South Wales. The numbat is a small, colorful creature ranging between 14 and 18 inches long, with a finely pointed muzzle and prominent bushy tail that's around the same length of the body. Color varies considerably from soft gray to reddish brown, often sporting between 4 and 11 white stripes across the animal's hindquarters, which gradually become fainter towards the mid-back. The underside is a cream or light gray in color, while the tail is covered in long gray hair. Numbats are insectivores and subsist on a diet of ants, grubs, and in particular, termites, with adults consuming up to 20,000 termites in a single day. Numbats themselves are many predators such as carpet pythons, sand goannas, wedge-tailed eagles, collared sparrowhawks, brown goshawks, little eagles, invasive red foxes, and feral cats. The solitary numbat typically spends its days hunting for food throughout its up to 1.5 square kilometer territory, which is typically comprised of eucalypt forest, semi-arid woodland, and or spinifex grassland. At night, the numbat retreats to a nest, which can be a log or a tree hollow as well, or a burrow that typically has a narrow shaft around 1 to 2 meters long, which terminates in a spherical chamber lined with soft plant material. Numbats breed in late summer from February to March, typically producing a litter of around 4 joeys. Unusually amongst marsupials, female numbats have no pouch, and though the 4 teats are protected by a patch of crimpled golden hair and by the swelling of the surrounding abdomen and thighs during lactation. The young are often carried on the mother's back due to a lack of pouch, and will stay with her for up to 8 months. Numbats typically mature around 1 year of age and may live upwards of 5 years of age under ideal conditions. Next up is the blue carpenter bee, which is a species of carpenter bee native throughout China, India, and Southeast Asia. They are a rather large bee, about an inch in length, and they have a black end near their body which is clear, black, and shiny without any hairs. The thorax part of the bee is covered with a dense, almost glossy light blue hair, giving it striking appearance. They have a larger mouth parts than any other bee species, with their beautiful wings and being long and narrow in shape. Males often differentiate from females in color, and they often have a greenish yellow fur on them instead of the vibrant blue. Additionally, only females sport stingers. Unlike honeybees, which build complex and intricate hives filled with tens of thousands of workers and a single queen, carpenter bees are much less sociable, with males being almost entirely solitary. Several females, however, may work together to tunnel into trees or wooden structures in order to make passageways in which to live, hibernate, and lay their eggs, called galleries. Carpenter bees make honey, just like their smaller counterparts, but it's much thicker and denser than traditional honey, with more of a peanut butter or cookie dough consistency. Females mix this honey with pollen to create bee bread, which is used to fill specialized gallery chambers where they will lay their eggs and then seal everything to form a brood cell that keeps their eggs safe with enough food available for when the larvae hatch. After hatching, it takes around 7 weeks for the larvae to reach full adulthood. However, depending on the climate, they may stay in the nest until April or May, only striking out on their own when the winter cold is long gone. Some blue carpenter bees may live up to 3 years under ideal conditions. Next up is the tiger salamander, which is a species of mole salamander native throughout much of the United States, southern Canada, and northern Mexico. They are amongst the largest amphibians in North America, measuring between 6 and 8 inches in length and sporting a short snout, thick neck, strong legs, and lengthy tail. The body may be dark gray, brown, or black with yellow markings, and in some species the yellow markings are large spots or stripes, while in other subspecies they have small yellow irregular shaped spots. These spots, like those of many other amphibians, are bioluminescent and glow green under blue light. They inhabit a wide range of habitats, from conifer and deciduous woodlands to open grasslands, where they will spend their days hiding amongst the underbrush or resting in burrows underground, emerging at night to feed upon insects, snails, slugs, worms, small mammals, small reptiles, and other amphibians. Tiger salamanders themselves are preyed upon by badgers, snakes, bobcats, and owls. Like all ambystomatids, they are extremely loyal to their birthplaces and will travel long distances to reach them. Because of this, a single tiger salamander only has around a 50% chance of breeding more than once in its lifetime. The breeding season occurs from late winter to mid-spring. About 48 hours after insemination, the female will deposit her eggs in the breeding pool and carefully attach the eggs onto secure twigs, grass, and leaves at the bottom of the pool to ensure her young's safety. After this, she will leave them. In around 10 to 15 days time, the eggs will hatch into tadpoles that are often known as water dogs, and it takes tiger salamander approximately 3 months to reach full maturity and leave the water, and adults may live up to 15 years under ideal conditions. Next up is the dugong, which is a medium-sized marine mammal and the only Sirenian native to the Indian and Pacific Oceans. It is one of the 4 living species in the order Sirenia, which also includes the 3 species of manatees, and is the only living representative of the once diverse family Dugonidae, with its closest modern relative being the Steller sea cow that was hunted to extinction around the 18th century. They are primarily herbivorous, with the bulk of their diet consisting of seagrass and algae. However, they will occasionally eat invertebrates such as jellyfish, ski squirts, polychaete worms, and shellfish. Dugongs themselves are preyed upon by crocodiles, killer whales, and large sharks. They sport fusiform bodies with no dorsal fin or hind limbs. The forelimbs consist of petal-like flippers, and it is easily distinguished from other manatees by its flute, dolphin-like tail. The dugong's snout is sharply downturned with an adaptation for benthic feeding, and the molar-like teeth are simple and peg-like, unlike the more elaborate molar dentition of manatees. Dugongs typically measure around 10 feet in length and weigh upwards of 1,000 pounds, with females being slightly larger than males. There are also individuals that have been found up to 13 feet long and 2,200 pounds in weight. Although they are social animals, the dugongs are usually solitary or found in pairs due to the inability of seagrass beds to support large populations. Gatherings of hundreds of dugongs sometimes occur, often coinciding with a mass migration to new feeding grounds. Females give birth after a 13 to 15 month gestation period, usually just one calf. Said calves will nurse for around 14 to 18 months and will stay with their mother until they reach sexual maturity around 8 years of age. Under ideal conditions, dugongs are known to live at least 70 years. And our extinct animal of the week is the Haast eagle, which is an extinct species of eagle that once lived in the South Island of New Zealand, and is commonly accepted to be the Pauakai of the Maori legend. Sporting a wingspan of over 9 feet in length, standing around 3 feet tall and weighing upwards of 33 pounds, it was the largest eagle known to have ever existed. The comparatively short wings may have aided the Haast eagle when hunting in the dense scrubland and forests of New Zealand, with the strong legs and massive flight muscles enabling these birds to take off with a jumping start off the ground despite their great weight. DNA analysis has shown that this bird is related most closely to the much smaller little eagle as well as the booted eagle, and not, as previously thought, the large wedge-tailed eagles in Australia. They are estimated to have diverged from these smaller eagles as recently as 1.8 million to 700,000 years ago. This increase in weight by 10 to 15 times is an exceptionally rapid weight increase and therefore represents the largest and fastest evolutionary increase in the average weight and size of any known vertebrate species. For around 500,000 years, the Haast eagle preyed upon large, flightless bird species, especially the moa, which was often around 15 times its weight. It used its large beak and long, sharp claws to rip into and puncture the internal organs of its prey, causing them to die from impact trauma and blood loss. Due to the absence of other large predators or kleptoparasites, A single Haast eagle could have easily monopolized a large kill over a number of days and would have been the apex predator of New Zealand. Although the Haast eagles managed to coexist with humans for around 200 years, with the two even occasionally preying upon each other, as we have evidence of uh, people who have been killed by Haast eagles in their burial sites, as well as people using Haast eagle bones as tools. Eventually, habitat loss and the extinction of its primary prey being the giant moas led to the last Haast eagles to die out around 1400 AD. As always, take care to my guys, gals, non-binary pals. Have a wonderful day.